Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, a listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune, and this weekend's edition is also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, tell you what, this weekend, this show is coming to you from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We are at the Associated Great Lakes Outdoor Writers Conference. And I tell you what, this is the best writers conference that I've been to since probably in the 90s. This is just a hoot. And one of the common themes that I've heard people say is it's a great conference because everybody here likes each other. And we're just having a great time. All the supporting members, all the manufacturers, the NGOs, the writers, the publishers, the editors, the photographers, everybody here is just having a great time. This is just more fun than a person ought to be legally allowed to have. And we're going to step aside just a little bit this week. We've got a special guest with us this week, Darren Amundson. Right?
Is it right? Yes, Darren Amundson, right.
Okay. Now, he's got a fun story, and I would say he's one of our product manufacturers here, so we're going to talk a little bit about his product. I don't do that a whole lot, but I want to find out more about it because I think it's something that you'd be interested in, and it's just fun. But, Darren, okay, before we get off into all the product stuff, let's talk a little bit because when we were visiting earlier, you were saying, that you lived in Texas.
Yeah, that's right. My wife and I moved to Texas in the year 2000 after I got done with school. I had a job where I could live anywhere I want, and we moved to Austin. We loved it there. We were never planning on leaving. We were there for 17 years, and it actually started this company there, started working on it in Texas. It's got Texas roots. Started it in 2017, started doing the development. And the company is an app for running fishing tournaments. It enables catch and release fishing tournaments to be legitimate. You can immediately release the fish back to the water and count on the results in a way that it cannot be cheated on.
All right. Okay. All right. Now here's the part that did not make sense to me, because you left Texas and moved to Minnesota. You lost me there. What happened?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I miss it. I do miss it. But Bonnie, my wife Bonnie, and I, we were living in Austin, and we were in South Austin, and she was driving to schools. She was in sales. She'd sell to schools and school districts, and she'd have to run across Austin all the time. And it's so popular and it's growing so fast, and there's the same number of highways when we first moved there, that by 2017 the roads were just plugged, and it was adding an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half at night to her day, and it just got to be too much for her. And with me, I can work from home, and so we said, well, we originally grew up in Minnesota, and so we decided to move back to Minnesota.
Okay, well, that makes sense then. All right. Where in Minnesota?
Where did we grow up? And
yeah.
So Bonnie grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I grew up in northern Minnesota in a place called Linden Grove. It's just it is on some maps in a 36 square mile area. I think we had 100 people at that time.
All right, this country up here is beautiful. I drive everywhere. I don't mind flying. I don't like airports, so I drive everywhere. And this drive up here was one of the nicer drives. Earlier this year, I went to the POMA conference in Ohio, and I felt like I was driving through the city all the way over there. Up here, it's just it's a couple of ticks to the west, and coming up this way, it was open country the whole way, and it was really pretty.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely. And I actually think northern Minnesota is even more different. It's got rock outcroppings. The lakes are different. There's heavy woods. I mean, I grew up in a house in the woods basically, and we didn't have fields and farms very much where we were because of a short growing season, but it was, I could walk 6 miles behind my dad's house when I was a kid and just go straight into the woods. And they'd let me do that when I was 8 years old.
Yeah. I always tell stories about, I can remember, being that age and running the woods out there in Shaw's Bend where I grew up. And we didn't think anything of it. I mean, we thought, it was, you hit the cow trails and just go through the woods, and pretty soon you know the trails and you start learning all the different little critter tracks and all that stuff and playing in the creeks. And that's how kids learn.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a real quick story about that. I went out in the woods and I was with my uncle. We were tracking a deer, and I thought that he was lost, and I wasn't paying attention. I was too young to carry a gun. I think I was about 8 when I did that. And I got so scared because I thought he was lost, but he wasn't. He got this creek and he followed it out to the road, and we walked back to the house. But after that, I just had this amazing feeling because the adrenaline was pumping through me when I was this little kid. And so the next night after school, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. This is crazy. You know how crazy I am. I'm an 8-year-old. I went out in the woods as far as I could, and it got dark about 4:30. That this was just after deer season. I went out as far as I could in the woods, and I spun in circles until I was dizzy, and I didn't know which direction was home, and I didn't get lost. I was trying to get that feeling. I was trying to replicate that same feeling of being out in the woods, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't get lost again, and I feel like I've never got lost since.
No, that's great. That's great. That's great. No, I did it a little at a time. I'd sneak off in the woods, and I'd go a little ways, and I found. Then that's what you do. You find a drainage. You find a drainage, and you follow it. And inherently, even little kids inherently know this. Find a drainage, follow it, and then come back to the house. And it's an inherent thing that you know. And other people are well, you're in the woods, you're lost. Well, no, you can find your way.
You can find your way, and it can change on you too, though. Like if it snows a lot up here, you walk out, and then it snows a lot, and then you look and you think you know what the woods looks like, and all of a sudden it's different. It's a little bit scary when that happens, but it can happen.
Yes, absolutely. And then when I guided in Montana and Wyoming, it went on even to a grander scale. Because now, I'm traversing mountains, and when you're guiding, that's the way you really learn your country is walking it. We might be horseback, we might do a lot of things, but you really want to learn a piece of country, you walk it out, and that's how you know it.
Yeah, and I feel like now with the phones we have, and they're giving you instructions and directions on where to turn and where to go, I don't keep track of where I'm going as good as I used to. And I have a harder time going back to the same place twice. But if you ask me, like, where was I in West Virginia 15 years ago when I went to help some customer fix something, I think I could find that. I did it. I just did it with the map and drove there. I think I can still go back and find that. But now if you ask me where we went out to dinner last night in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, I'd be like, I don't really know how we got over there.
You follow the GPS, and some little voice was giving you directions. And by the time you get there, you're dependent on that little voice to tell you how to get home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's okay. See, that's one of the things. I never carried a cell phone into the wilderness. And when I had hunters that had some kind of GPS with them, and they started telling me which way to go, I'd look at them, and I may not say it out loud, but I'd be thinking, well, go find your own damn elk. Ask that GPS where they're at. If you don't want me to think and figure out which way to go, you just let that damn dumb thing tell you. But anyway, okay, let's talk a little bit because, fishing. The fishing up here is different again because y'all have so many varieties. I mean, down home, our country, well, we got blue cats, channel cats, yellow cats, and then we got bass fishing. And then you go to the coast and it's speckled, it's trout and redfish. But up here, I don't know why. It just seems to me like you go lake fishing and there's just more variety.
That's There is more variety, and maybe to you even it seems like there's even more than it probably does to me. But we do have we have an app that runs fishing tournaments. That's what I do now, and we do have just in my home state of Minnesota a tournament that has 41 different species in it. But in that tournament, you can fish in any lake or river in Minnesota.
Okay.
But 41 species that are, not like little minnows and things like that, but measurable fish, and it's got to be a master angler size means. So like if we're getting a bass in Minnesota, our bass don't get as big as a Texas bass, but they get big. And so if the bass exceeds 20 inches in Minnesota, that's a master angler bass, right? That, for a largemouth. And then we have for smallmouth, if it's greater than 19 inches, that's a master angler. So that tournament keeps track of all of your master angler fish. And yeah, you're right. There's a lot of species. We have, 41 in Minnesota.
All right. Well, this app that you're using for your tournaments. Okay. So historically, these tournaments, and correct me because I'm not well versed in this, but normally in a tournament, in the old days, you had so many you could keep, and that was, then you came in and you measured the weight, and that was what you brought in. Right.
That's exactly right. And I thought about that a little bit because, we've been doing that way for so long in a tournament that I started. When I started this company, I was like, well, I want to do something different. I don't want to bring the fish in. I want to be able to immediately release them back to where they came from, not bring them to the boat launch and let them go. And it lowers the mortality. And I thought a lot about, like, why do we weigh the fish? And the biggest reason is because we need a way to reckon the results so that we need them all to be certain size, and we need to make sure they're legitimate, right? We need to bring them back to one place, and we would weigh them because that was the best way to do it, is to weigh these fish, and we can see them, we can physically see them. You're not cheating; they're all here, and we weigh them, and we keep track of the score and see who won. And as a result, we hold up the fish and we let them go, and hopefully, most of them are okay and can swim off and live. But now, if we're doing it with a phone, the way we're doing it, we time stamp every photo. You take your photos through our app, you put it on a measuring board, you close the mouth. What I always say is you close the mouth and you bump that fish up on a bump board, and that's like zeroing out your weigh scale. You wouldn't want to have the mouth open. That's like not zeroing out your weigh scale. You want to bump it up tight so everyone's starting with the same start point, and then you sway the tail, take your measurement, and that's it. Take your photos with our app. We always say take a photo of the measurement, take a photo of the angler holding the fish, and then do a release video. And the reason we do a release video is we want to make sure it's a live fish. It can swim away. It wasn't previously frozen and unthawed and just, dead. And it's also not handed off to another angler so he can measure it or she can measure it. So we say, those two things, 2 photos and a video. And so it's legitimate. And because now all of a sudden it's legitimate, you can do it on the water with your phone, and you don't need to go back to a certain place to weigh them at the end of the day.
Right.
So if I don't need to go back to a certain place, now all of a sudden I don't have to be so close to a certain spot to weigh my fish anymore. I can do that from anywhere. And if I do it with an app like what we developed, you don't even need internet or anything. You can do it. You can put your phone in airplane mode, go out and fish all day, record your fish, come back. And when you get back, everything will upload to the servers, and we'll have live leaderboards. Everybody can see the results and see how you rank against the other anglers.
All right. I tell you what, let's take a quick break. Thank the folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning. We'll be right back.